Good day, good sir.
Good day.
I feel like today is a bit gloomy, although it's beautiful out. What do you think?
Something sinister,
There's something in the air, a sort of chill.
indeed.
I've heard a story about this fantastic beast from the 19th century. Would you have a couple minutes? I'd love to tell you about the
I have just
story.
enough.
Oh, well, his name was Frankenstein, or so that's what people called him. But actually, he's actually a beast that was made from man. A man also named Frankenstein, Victor Frankenstein. He was a doctor, and the story goes this way. He's a doctor who always had ambition to sort of push the envelope of science and, human capabilities, which is admirable in and of itself. However, he did the ultimate sacrilege that no scientist should ever pursue, which was trying to be God. He invented life. And I know it sounds crazy, but he invented life by taking different pieces of human beings, putting them together, and somehow with the power of electricity, faith in himself, and just magical whimsiness of the world, he managed to bring a dead person to life. Isn't that crazy? I know. It's like religious. But the story was actually pretty, how would I say? It was in and of itself incredible, but also lacking, which is kind of interesting, which I'd obviously want to explore. But this movie this story that I'm talking about is actually a movie. Uh, we're gonna have to end. I don't know. We're gonna have to figure it out. But this story, in my opinion, was pretty great. In and of itself, it's a classic story, of course, that I'm sure you've heard before. Trying to raise back the dead. I'd love to hear your thoughts about the story. And we'll explore its themes. But initially, for me, I enjoyed the experience. It was a visually striking, in a good way. It was visually striking. It was a beautiful movie. I would say that I have some reservations in terms of the pacing and in terms of like how they approach the themes and the subjects, which we'll get into. But I thoroughly enjoyed the story of Frankenstein. Um, Now I have to ask you, good sir, have you heard of the story of Frankenstein? And if so, did you enjoy it?
I've heard of the story, and I enjoyed the original story. I remember seeing the first iteration of it in black and white,
Wow, wow.
and it was a whole different approach. Have I enjoyed this adaptation of the original?
Tell me.
I'm afraid I did not.
Ooh.
I'm afraid I did not, especially because the elements were there, like pieces of the body. I feel like the elements are there, and there was a composition of something. I think no, maybe not on purpose, perhaps on purpose, it felt like the monster itself.
Okay.
The pieces were there of different. There was a good costume. There was a good story. Great acting. Good set design, and some very interesting shots.
Yeah.
But something didn't land.
Mm. Mm.
I wonder if you share the same.
You know what? I think I do. And I think the way to find what didn't land, because it's not coming on top of my head, but the way to find what didn't land is maybe to dig deeper into the story, right? So let's start off with the actors and the main characters, right? So we have Doctor Frankenstein,
Oscar Isaac.
the goat. Shout out Oscar Isaac, and then we have his love interest, which right now her name is
Mia Goth.
Exactly, Mia Goth. We have, of course, Frankenstein the monster himself, Jacob Elordi, and then we also have how would I say
The benefactor or the brother?
yeah, well, I mean the doctor who helped Doctor Frankenstein. I forget
Yes,
his name.
Christopher Waltz.
Exactly. So yeah, the benefactor, and those are the main characters. To me, in terms of their performance, the performance that they did of their script and whatnot, that was exceptional. You know what I mean? I was very much surprised with the approach to Frankenstein. That Jacob Elordi did was he was very much childlike, almost baby-like at the beginning, which usually, Frankenstein is always one, like, he's discovering the world, but he felt very much like a baby almost, you know what I mean? So that was interesting. Of course, the second part of his story where he comes into himself, that was great performance as well. I will say I do have a little bias for Mia. I do think she is the leading figure for independent horror movies right now in our era. You know what I mean? So I really hope she gets like a lot of mainstream support from this, because she was exceptional. I will say Oscar Isaac. That's not even a question. Same thing for Christopher Waltz. If that's his name, I'm sorry. They're both already established actors. They perform really well. But if I were to look deeper into, how would I say, the writing of their characters, if you look at the character development, I'll say the two characters who had the best character development was Frankenstein the monster and Mia Goth. I think those they were given character arcs. You know what I mean? Mia Goth was sort of started off as the mistress and turns out to be sort of the voice of humanity in the movie. You know what I mean? So I really love that. Jacob Elordi as the monster, obviously came from nothing, becomes a man, a learned man. Interesting. But I will say, Doctor Frankenstein's, his development, to me, there was a step that was sort of missing. He went from loving his creation to automatically, like the next day, like being done with his creation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was a huge leap into that. Like, how do you feel about the main characters, their relationship, and their character development?
There's definitely something that was kind of didn't make sense in a way that, I don't know, something about writing, it was, at the same time, it was aiming for something deeper with like references to Prometheus and all of that.
Right.
But at the same time, it also felt like we were explaining a little too much. And at a certain point, and I have to credit my girlfriend for giving me this thing, it's like, I personally didn't notice, but he was treating his creation like his father treated him, which was...
Wow, okay, I didn't think of that. Okay, shout out to Camille.
That was good, that was
Yeah.
good. But the thing is, also at the same time, some concepts and some ideas were almost too chewed out when he was like, you are the monster.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, yeah, that's kind of the point of the story.
Exactly. Like, it's not that it's
You
a
don't have
given.
to spell it out.
Exactly. Like, you see Dr. Frankenstein's actions. You don't need to be told, oh, that is a monster. Like, he was manipulating everybody.
Yes.
Like, it's obvious. You know what I mean?
At times I felt like they were speaking not to each other, but to us. And that obviously kind of felt, well, boring in a certain way.
I feel you. No, I think that's 100% valid. And honestly, it reaffirms, or it helps me understand the little things I held back from the movie. I will say too, because we are very much in a sort of renaissance of like Gothic, or like, you know what I mean, very much artistic horror movies. If we compare it to last year, we had an incredible Gothic horror, Nosferatu, which is, another monster within like this little classic monsterverse in Hollywood. I think the execution there was perfect in terms of the romance, the character development, the spookiness. I will say there was a great accent of spookiness in Frankenstein, but it definitely could have been pushed way further, especially it was a Halloween release, you know what I mean? So yeah, like, how do you feel about the Gothic essence in the movie? Do you think that essence was communicated or demonstrated well? Like, tell me.
I'm glad you're bringing up Nosferatu, because I feel like as we keep talking, I keep finding out what didn't stick for me. And then once you're comparing Nosferatu,
yeah,
it makes so much more sense that this is a film where something works and clearly some choices seem deliberate, and it seems like a completed idea or a completed project. And it's also long, and it's also kind of approached as if you never heard about it.
Right.
But at the same time, Frankenstein to me lands so much lower compared to Nosferatu, and I feel maybe it kind of sidelines the female character for me a little bit. Frankenstein.
Yeah.
I don't know if you felt the same. Compared to Nosferatu, I feel like, well, yeah, it's.
Yeah.
I feel like Frankenstein just doesn't explore where it goes deeper, because there's a lot of. Yeah, I feel like I don't have the exact words, but
I feel you.
compared to the writing of the original and compared to like the story that the original aims to tell, I feel Frankenstein, the movie, is ends up being so surface level. And when you have the Nosferatu looking at it in the mirror,
Yeah.
despite not being able to reflect in it, you know, I just. It just does something. It doesn't have the it.
Right. No, and I feel because as you were saying that, you know, like the one moment, like I wouldn't say scene because it's more than a scene, but the one part of the movie where I think it did explore that, but it ended up so abruptly, and then its position too in the movie felt a bit off.
Yeah.
Was the time where Frankenstein was hiding out within that little I don't know, cottage or whatever.
Yes,
You know
yes.
what I mean? I was like, okay, that's the only real time where you see Frankenstein sort of exploring his agency, right? Trying to
Yes.
understand, like, okay, I'm not just a creature in the world. It's like, okay, I'm a being, I have feelings, I have emotions. But that was about 10 minutes of the movie.
It's the most emotional I felt in the whole
In the movie.
I felt like I connected to the character the most. I feel like connected in a way that like I understood where he's coming from. I shed a small tear.
Yeah.
I felt like that moment was like
So
it's what
impactful.
brought me back.
Yes,
Because I was
yes.
already giving up around that time, and I was like, okay.
It was like a 1 hour and a half into the movie already,
Yes.
right? So it's like,
And it's interesting too because recently we've been discussing slow cinema in class and like what the slow doesn't necessarily mean bad.
of course.
And it doesn't necessarily, like some movies aim to demand your attention and take away from your time.
Right.
And we're watching some examples. We were watching Tarkovsky. We were watching a different director, like the one who made the 7-hour long movie, the famous one.
7 hours?
Yeah.
Oh my
And
goodness.
we watched the opening scene, and it was slow, but it didn't feel like
Right.
the slowness was taking away. It was there on purpose. You were supposed to take time. You were supposed to
Right.
soak it in. Here, it felt slow, but not deliberately.
Yeah.
Almost, it felt like the slowness was, well,
It's as if they were trying to have a certain moment for each moment, but those moments didn't hit, so time just felt long.
exactly.
You know what I mean?
It felt like, yeah, you know what? Exactly. It felt like the slowness coming up to the moment was pointless, and the moments were so small and short
Yeah.
that it almost left you anticipating next one, which is maybe the purpose, but
Yeah.
I highly doubt.
No, I agree. I 100% agree because, you know, the entire beginning, like the first half of the movie, I think it had a lot of potential, right? Like, I enjoyed exploring Doctor Frankenstein, trying to get his research approved.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that aspect where it's like, okay, like it's obviously a fantastical story, but this is like the nitty gritty behind the character. You know what I mean? His ambitions and whatnot. But then that was so surface level, right? It was just like,
Yeah.
okay, here's a presentation, you know, at the British like scientific community or whatever, and then we never really engaged with that aspect. Like, you know, like, okay, did he have like academic, you know, pushback or
Yeah.
like his own moral pushback? Like, I understand that Dr. Frankenstein is a steady, fast, you know, doctor, scientist who wants to pursue research, but you never get his thought process on like, okay, like deliberating on this experiment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you know, philosophically and whatnot.
Exactly, like the philosophical. I feel like, you know, the three, like the three problems. You know what I'm talking. The storybook
Yeah.
that you gave me.
Yeah.
That I yet to return, but I finished it, and like you know, there's like three levels, like the personal, the grand, and the philosophical. And I felt like the philosophical angle was just not taken.
Yeah.
And yes, oh yes, I want to cheat death, but that's back to the point of like we feel like we get chewed out the answers for us, and he just says, oh, I want to cheat death, and
Yeah.
because of my father, and that's kind of like,
Yeah.
yeah, come on, give me more.
Give me substance.
Give
You
me
know what I mean?
substance, yeah.
Yeah.
He does this presentation and he does this whole oratory thing, but then like, yeah, the people are upset because it's blasphemy and whatever,
Right.
and like, and
But-
then he immediately gets funding after, like.
But that's the thing, you know, because, and I'm sorry for cutting you off, but it's like, you know how they were all saying it's blasphemous and whatnot. This is a scientific society of Great Britain, and this is
Yeah.
at least the 19th century, right? It's not the 1700s, the 1800s. I mean, it is the 1800s, my fault.
Yeah.
It's not the 1700s. Like the scientific community was obviously still, you know, drenched in Christianity, but this was the time of like Darwinism, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like evolution, and like, you know, we've already been past the scientific revolution. It's like, okay, like I feel like that wouldn't be the reason why they'd stop. They'd say like, okay, maybe playing with life is a bit too much,
Yeah.
but like blasphemy and whatnot, it's just like, I wish, it's just that certain elements are sprinkled but never really explored, and it just leaves you wanting more. You know what I mean?
It's like there's sparks of like I feel like the movie that it's supposed to be is kind of hiding there. And it's interesting if, again, there's a distribution to blame. There's the big production of Netflix to blame that wanted to be dumbed down.
Hey, I wouldn't be surprised. I don't even know if Guillermo is the one who wrote this, but I wouldn't be surprised if Netflix really had a huge hand into like the final product of this movie. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So, you know, it is. And also for me, I don't understand, like it was in theaters for such a short amount of time before it was put on streaming as well. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I feel like if Netflix wants to pursue this route of like, okay, let's bring people back to the theater, like give it a good month or a month and a half, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
before it's on streaming, you know. But I
Yeah.
don't know. Yeah. But look, the bell tolls already. I think we can give our final thoughts on this. I'll say this, one aspect that I did enjoy, I mean, I'll give two aspects that I did enjoy. It's Guillermo del Toro. It's beautiful, right? The long shots, the dramatic shots in the wind, in the cold, in the tundra. That fight, that final fight
Yeah.
between, you know, Doctor Frankenstein and the monster Frankenstein, that was dope. You know what I
That was
mean?
good.
That dynamite.
The shot with the sunset, wow.
Beautiful, and even the house blowing up. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like the capabilities of the director, the cinematographer, and everybody else is not in doubt. It's
Yeah.
the execution of the story, in my opinion. Right? You know, that was a bit iffy. So yeah, and like the one thing that I did like that I wanted to mention was the sci-fi aspect. You know what I
Yes.
mean? I enjoy sci-fi. This was like sci-fi in the past, which I enjoy. You know. So how do you feel about those points? And tell me your final thoughts on this movie. You know, on the story. After the bell tolls, that means it's noon.
My initial rating was 4 out of 5, but I think the more I sat and the more I slept on it,
Yeah,
I must bring it down to 3 out of 5 or a 6 out of 10.
yeah.
It's good. There's a lot of interesting. I don't regret my time spent on it,
Right.
but unfortunately, I just left wanting more and seeing too much.
Facts. I agree. I think that's 100% fair. Like, we are very much in the mid culture, so when we put something in the middle, people associate it with trash. Like I agree in the same way. I enjoyed my time. I enjoyed going to the movie, so I enjoyed the experience. I don't regret spending my money at all.
Yeah.
I would put it a bit higher. I'd put it like a good 7 on 10. You know what I mean? Just because the points that it did well. You know, like this, the shots were beautiful at the end of the day. So I'm
Yeah.
like, you know what? That was in and of itself good. So I give it a 7 on 10. And I enjoyed the performances of the actors. So that also is a huge plus.
It is a good play.
Exactly. So I'll give that a good 7 on 10. But the fact that we're in this beginning of this renaissance of like Gothic horror, you know, there's gonna be, I think it's another Frankenstein movie, right? Oh no, is it?
The
No,
bride,
it's
there's a bride.
a
that's
bride,
brewing.
exactly.
A bride is brewing.
Yeah, a bride is brewing. There's a werewolf brewing as well too.
As
like
well.
you know, so like I think now that we're sort of back into this renaissance to Gothic horror, you know, if there's competition, you gotta be on top of the competition, right? Like we went to go see Frankenstein almost a year after we saw Nosferatu, and still watching it, you're still like Nosferatu was good. Like,
Nosferatu was different.
it was so good. So it's like if there's gonna be competition in the Gothic horror scene, you gotta be on top. And if you're not on top, then we have to be honest. So I enjoyed Guillermo del Toro's works. I enjoyed every actor in there. You know, shout out to the whole crew and everything. It's only a 7. It's a light 7 on 10 for me. So you know, I'm not saying, hey, you guys don't ever, you know, cook like you guys did. I'll give another Gothic horror from Guillermo del Toro a chance anytime. But it did leave me a bit empty. It left me on an empty stomach, you know. But yeah, 7 on 10, 6 on 10 from you. I think what we need to walk away from this movie and from this story is, you know, maybe question humanity and our approach to sort of not the grotesque, but you know, we certain people live on the outskirts of society. Some people feel like coming into themselves is difficult, even as an adult. You know, I think if we sort of act with a bit more empathy and compassion towards each other or towards each other's journey, maybe that's the lesson we should walk away from this movie. However, it didn't act on it. It didn't execute that lesson well. But that's what I'll leave this message. That's what I'll leave this movie with.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. It's
Yeah.
the winter is coming. We feel cold in the air. Maybe it's dread. Maybe it's melancholy. But I kind of enjoy the darkness, and I
Yeah.
hope we get more darkness in the next movies to come. You know, do you have a
Yeah.
final word for the
The
viewers?
final word, I would say, I wish it kind of took the approach of Oppenheimer to like a person creating something that they are revered for. And I was kind of expecting that.
Yeah.
And I was hoping it would kind of push that. And I don't think we are afraid of long and complex themes, and
At
the audiences are not.
Right.
I feel like we should strive to make smarter and more
Yes.
profound statements in our films.
Absolutely, and that goes for all art. A lot of art right now is not dumbed down, but watered down. Like people hunger for cinema.
Yes.
The audience will be there for a 3-hour movie. You know what I mean? The audience will be there for a 2.5 hour movie. But give us the substance. I'm ready to pay extra money to go to a fancy restaurant. Give me a nice meal. You know. So I agree. Beautiful
What a good
thoughts.
note.
Exactly. Well, my good sir, it was great talking to you on this, and I hope you enjoy the chills of winter.